Oh, what's good, YouTube? We got a new video from a gambler. Haven't seen his videos before. Posted 4 days ago. Yuji is not a prodigy. You've watched a similar video on how like Naruto is not a prodigy, or it was like Naruto is a prodigy. Naruto is not a prodigy, is what it is. But I've seen videos on how people have tried explaining that he is one. So this is gonna be a video in a similar sense, explaining why Itadori Yuji is not a prodigy. Never seen his videos before. I was always gonna prefer a little like. If you don't like it, you can take the joint. You know what I'm saying? You can take the joint away. But we're gonna check out the video and see if his video essay style is something we can subscribe to. Without further ado, we're just gonna hop straight into it.
Yuji Itadori is our beloved main character in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, and within the story, he makes probably one of, if not the most ridiculous jump in power in a given amount of time, going from where he started to special grade level in a matter of months. This is cool and all, but would this qualify him to be a prodigy? Well, in today's video, we'll talk about exactly that. What's up, guys? Gambly here, and I'm finally recovering from being sick, so you know the uploads are coming back. Today, while I was brain rotting on TikTok, I saw
with a PFP, bro, you got heterochromia. I mess with it.
Very questionable top 5 list, but in the comments was one of the
no
worst
bro in the
things
top
I've
5
ever
is
read.
crazy.
Alright, that's a lot, but it was a bad comment. I'll go into what it said in a second, but today we're going to be talking about whether or not Yuji is a prodigy. Before we get into it, make sure to like and subscribe. We recently hit 60,000 subscribers. I love each and every one of y'all. We're on the road to 100k, so help me out. But let's stop yapping. Is Yuji really
It's right into it.
So I mentioned a very terrible comment that I saw in that TikTok.
Yeah.
And the comment goes like this. Yuji is top 1 of the verse.
So fraud.
He has a non-restricted world cutting slash. This was already a terrible comment, but what really made it crazy was the reply to someone asking how. Sukuna explained how he obtained the world cutting slash. Yuji has shrine and is a prodigy as well. It's very reasonable for him to gain it. Now at a surface level, this is not really a crazy. It's very.
I think off rip, this is kind of stupid to say. Non-restricted world cutting slash. This is the thing that was able to pierce through. Spoilers, if you're not caught up to JJK manga, this whole video is probably gonna be spoilers because this is the basis of their argument. It's like manga stuff, but the whole premise is that he was able to cut through Gojo's infinity with this technique, right? So they're implying Yuji is going to be able to use this technique as like he's able to use shrine, right? But they're going to go even a step further and go, well, Yuji's able to use shrine, which is the base of Sukuna's technique, and he's a prodigy as well. So here they're either saying he's a prodigy on top of him having shrine, which somehow correlates him being somewhere near Sukuna's level and being able to essentially not recreate the technique, but rediscover it because he's never consciously used it. And then they're going to say it's very much reasonable for him to gain this technique in his bag. And I think when it comes to some stories like Naruto, this would be a good claim. This would be a valid claim. Like Kurama using a technique in Naruto's body with his chakra, and Naruto having the ability to use Kurama's chakra pool. Oh yeah, Naruto should be able to use a similar technique. In most cases, it's 100% valid, but we've seen Itadori's body remain regular. Like when he goes back to his shit, well, as regular as Itadori Yuji's body is, you know, the freak of an athlete, right? But it remains the same even after Sukuna takes over. He can't use Fuga. He can't use the you know what I'm saying, slashes. I'm not too caught up in the manga. I know how stuff went. I know how this story ended, but to my knowledge, he can't just spam Sukuna slashes, right? So knowing that this is the case, to then take that extra leap and go, yeah, this strongest technique that Sukuna, someone who's been living for thousands of years, probably more than that, created and had to create using the help of Maharaga, I think that's kind of ridiculous.
Reasonable for him to gain it. Now at a surface level, this is not really a crazy comment. Like yeah, Sukuna explained it, Yuji has shrine, and Yuji is a prodigy. Right? Do you see how you could get tripped up there? If you actually believe what the comment says as actual facts, then yeah, it makes sense. But it really isn't as easy as that. Now, I had to reply to it to really dissect his brain. I said, it was a near impossible move that Sukuna couldn't even pull off without restrictions, i.e. hand signs. He replied saying that it's still not impossible. We see how it's possible having an excellent manual, and then having a hand sign doesn't mean anything. Now, what I said in response to that is really a spoiler for the video, so I'm not going to say what I said in response, but I'm going to actually read out what he said in response to my response. Was that confusing? Anyways, it doesn't matter.
Not really.
Yuji is still a prodigy. There are barely any sorcerers like him to reach this level in a short time like that. This is what I wanted to highlight, because this is...
I think time can constitute someone being a prodigy. Like Aang is a prodigy because he became an airbending master at the age of like what, 9? And then master all the elements at 12 after like a summer of learning them. I'm saying I think it was a summer because it was the comment was like whatever 2-3 months he became a master of all elements, right? Besides Eric's, who's already a master of that at the age of 9. So it's like, be that the case, I would call Aang a prodigy, and it wouldn't be ridiculous to say yeah, Avatar Aang is a prodigy among prodigies. But in the case of Yuji, it's like it'd be if Aang wasn't talented with bending but could bend, and then was trained for his fire trainer, Ozai, right? If he's trained, putting it into perspective, what I'm trying to say in essence is if you're trained by prodigies, you could be labeled a prodigy, but to the same like extent, then too many people are prodigies to where no one's a prodigy. It's like a paradox, so to speak. It's like if I'm trained by only prodigies of this and they're giving me like the ins and outs of learning something, and this isn't, he created something new, he mastered something. Like Giyu from Demon Slayer, a little bit of spoiler, you should know if you've watched the anime, created his own form of water breathing, right? That is a prodigy because not everyone can create their own form of their breathing style. Pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory, right? But in the case of Yuji, he didn't create some new way of using cursed energy. He didn't create some new cursed technique. He's learning from prodigies, and he's able to replicate to a lesser extent at that what they taught him, which should be seen as the norm. If I am taught swordsmanship by, I don't know, well, it was like a really good swordsman. I don't know, Muramasa comes to my mind, but like I think it was like a bladesmith rather than a swordsman. I'm not too tapped in with that, but let's say I was taught how to fight by, let's say, Goku or Kenichi, right? Literal trained fighters. I'm able to replicate some of their moves to like a lesser extent. That is normal learning capacity. Is it going to look freakish compared to normal people learning from other normal people? Hell yeah, because it's going to take them more time to get there. But I'm learning the in and outs from someone who intuitively understood it. They were able to do it without being taught. I am only able to replicate it to a lesser extent, at some point to their extent, after being taught it and mastering it myself. That is normal.
It's everyone's go-to cope about Yuji being a prodigy. Before I started recording, I was eating and I was trying to think of a good analogy for this. I couldn't think of a perfect one, but I think this is a good one. So I'm pretty sure all of you guys know about Super Saiyan God and, Battle of Gods and Goku versus Beerus.
Very old movie.
Now, when people say that Yuji is a prodigy because he reached this level in this amount of time, it's like saying Goku went from Buu level to fighting with Beerus in 1 hour. Now, yes, that is a fact. He did go from Buu level to Beerus, not really Beerus level, but fighting with Beerus in an hour.
Comparable.
That is true.
Not even, but
there's context in it. If you heard it without context, it does sound ridiculous. Like
it would make it sound like he has, and the reason context is important is making it sound like this thing happened without context implies they're able to do it on their own without any outside interference, which means their growth is exponential compared to other people, and they can do that constantly. It's like going before the Cell Saga. I think I got an analogy for you. The Cell Saga thing, right? I don't remember how long they train in real world time, but it's taking that and going, yeah, they only had this much time to train before they fought Cell. When in the time chamber, months and years had gone by. It's like ignoring the context there implies that this level of growth, this feat, whatever that has happened, is something that can happen normally, and it just requires a little bit of conscious effort from me. That is why Kakashi's a prodigy. That is why Minato's a prodigy. That is why you could even say my guy is a prodigy. Things weren't given to him, but he learned it and took it to a next level. But you don't hear people saying, "My God's a prodigy." I wouldn't even probably put him in the prodigy category because he learned it from his father. It was passed down. It is understandable if this is where you come from to get there. But Kakashi came from Sakamo, who was the White Fang. Give credit where it's due, but he was an Abu member from a young age. He is tactically equipped. He has mastered the Sharingan, something that is not innate to his bloodline. So he took something that's not his, pushed it past what it can normally do, and to take it a step further, did that on his own, right? But when you look at someone like Sakura, you don't hear people saying Sakura is a prodigy. You can say it's just a knack for healing. But you wouldn't say she's a prodigy. She's learning under Tsunade. It makes sense that she's able to replicate what Tsunade has taught her. But if you go, yeah, this random girl in like 2 years went from base level strength to being able to destroy multiple buildings with a singular punch, it would sound crazy and it would sound like they're a prodigy. But with context, those things they line up, they become normal, right? And ignoring that context allows you to just throw around prodigy. But again, it's a paradox, bro. If you keep throwing this thing around, it then loses value.
An insane power boost, maybe through his hard work or his, talent, or him being a prodigy, right? No. The guy went from Buu level to fighting with Beerus because he had a ritual done to him.
Yeah.
And so that's the problem with the logic for Yuji. There is context as to why he progressed so much.
And the Black Flash too.
Ignore in context that
the Black Flash is like stupid crazy because it's like every time you hit a Black Flash, your technique increases like 120%. He was spamming it.
Going to bring you. So this part of the video is just me going through Yuji's entire growth as a sorcerer and giving the reasons why they happened. Later in the video, we're gonna go over some comments that I and giving.
I was trying to read his ring. It looks kind of tough. It looks like it's saying like. I thought it was gonna say something like fever dream. It's like just my guess. Like it looks like it says fever, but I think that's a D at the bottom. But it looks like it could be the start of
We're gonna
R.
go over some comments that I saw when I was
Fever
posting about it, and some of these comments are very funny, but you'll understand why they fall apart when I explain this. But before we actually get into his complete journey, we have to define what a prodigy actually is.
Yes.
More specifically, what a prodigy is in Jujutsu Kaisen. In my opinion, there are only 4 characters in Jujutsu Kaisen who are actual prodigies.
Okay.
Those being Yuta, Gojo, Sukuna, and Higuruma. All 4 of these characters are called geniuses, prodigies.
I'll give it. Because Gojo spawned in with his talent. He did create the Limitless and all of that, but when he spawned in, the entire world changed. Sukuna, through Kenjaku's help, figured out how to do what he did to essentially survive for all these years, right? But before that, he was the top of the totem pole. And for you to be at the top, likely, more often than not, you're considered a prodigy. Because you got to the top, and it probably wasn't done in like a... It wasn't done, as long as it's not done in an underhanded way, like, oh, I poisoned everybody. I was the last option, so I'm the best, right? If it's like you worked up to that and no one is able to rival you, not like, okay, yeah, I'm at the top, but if these 2 people below me like work together, they'd be able to beat me. No, I'm at the top, and if these 3 people below me work together, I'd still wash them. That's prodigy, right? And for Higuruma, he learned all that stuff in that short amount of time without anyone training him. It was just like, I have an innate understanding of curse energy. Prodigy. Sukuna, clearly, prodigy. Gojo, as we just discussed, prodigy. Yuta, what, bro? Off the rip, had insane curse energy, learned the weapons, is able to copy people's abilities, and he's able to use them at a higher tier than they're able to because they just don't have his level of curse energy. That's a prodigy if I've ever heard of it.
Something of the nature multiple times, and they have the feats to prove it. I'm going to start off with Gojo because he's the most interesting one and the most nuanced one to this entire conversation. Gojo is of course the golden boy of the modern era. He was born with the Limitless in the 6 eyes, the first in like 400 years to have it. He was that guy. We don't know when he was actually dubbed a special grade, but you can assume it was because of his curse technique, and you can assume it was pretty early. Now what I will say is that this is all because of his curse technique and his potential to become really strong. But just because he has potential doesn't mean he's a prodigy.
Right.
What actually makes him a prodigy is something we find out during his fight with Sukuna. We all know about Sukuna using his domain expansion to break the outside of Gojo's, and no one expected it. So Gojo is fighting with literally just reverse curse technique to not die to all the shrine attacks being shot at him. And suddenly he uses Symbol Domain. Now here is what's so crazy about this feat. First off, Gojo was never taught about it. All he's done is see it.
Yeah.
And so just from seeing it, and
you're able to
we don't even know how long ago it was, just from seeing it, Gojo is able to just use it perfectly. Yuji screams out that Gojo himself said that he couldn't do it. But Kusakabe replies saying that no, he just meant that he couldn't teach it. For a genius like that who can do anything on his first try.
So Pete, statements, genius, he can do anything on his first try. He learned RCT while not having it, just off of he was almost going to die. But you know how many people have died and almost died in the JJK verse who don't have RCT? It's because he's a genius that within that wall, I need to do this within this amount of time. He can get to it. It's like what Ego said about the flow state. It's where challenge and ability reach the perfect points. If you have so much more ability than the challenge that you're reaching, you have no point to get into the zone and show your actual capabilities. And if the challenge is so unsurmounting that you can't climb this wall at all, you will never motivate yourself to do so. But when those two things reach, you see that exponential growth, and a genius can hit that like that. A prodigy can hit that like that. It's almost as if the circumstances are irrelevant. They're always gonna essentially not provide, but produce those results. So it's like, you feel me? First time, it can do anything in his first try. He can't teach it. That alone screams prodigy / genius. You understand something, but you can't teach it because you don't understand it from these little building blocks like most people. We understand things how we understand them, right? 2 times 2 was 4 because 2 plus 2 is 4. He doesn't know that 2 plus 2 is 4. He just knows 2 times 2 equals 4 inherently. And because of that, he now knows 354,000 times 254,000 is equal to whatever number, right? Because it comes inherently to him rather than him having to understand the various concepts to break it down and then answer quickly.
He isn't exactly best suited for teaching. And funnily enough, this exact trope that Gege lays out to us sticks for the entire story. That'll make sense when we get to the Yuta part, but the main thing to focus on is the fact that Gojo is a, in quotations, genius who can do anything on his first try. Now, of course, this isn't completely true, but there is a lot of honesty to this.
Yeah.
The biggest contradiction, and probably the only contradiction to the statement, is the fact that Gojo as a teenager couldn't use reverse curse technique and by extension red or purple. Now, I don't think this is really an anti-feat to say that Gojo isn't a prodigy.
Yeah.
A prodigy doesn't have to master literally everything. Also, I'm pretty sure there are less reverse curse technique users than domain expansion users. So take that as you will. With that being said, Gojo found out how it actually works because, again, Shoko was a terrible...
Whoosh, then fwish. Whoosh and fwish. Don't you get it? He learned that from whoosh, then fwish. Whoosh and fwish. Come on, gang.
Teacher, just like Gojo is. But as soon as Gojo knew how it worked and he realized the essence of curse energy, he used it on his first try. This isn't comparable to another character we're gonna go into in a second, but it's still kind of commendable. And then right after, Gojo uses red for the first time perfectly, and then purple for the first time perfectly. So, yeah. But the proof that he's a genius or a prodigy doesn't stop there. Gojo goes on to do things he's never done before, like changing the conditions of his domain. During Shibuya, we saw Gojo just use a 0.2 domain expansion.
Literally creating the ability to push the craft that you practice in to the level that's never been seen before is prodigy, bro. It's like you literally I don't want to bring sports into it because it's very hard to see that, but like if a certain technique was never invented, like the people who invented the Mesopotamians inventing the base 10 system and the base 60 system, which we use for clocks and just basic counting of 10 fingers respectively. That's such a simple thing that you're not going to see it as like a revolutionary idea, but by definition, being able to push the craft that far, that fast, makes whoever invented that joint a prodigy. And now that same thing, after layers and layers of stacking, someone's able to push, like say physics to quantum physics, right? We're able to understand quantum tunneling. You feel me? That by essence is Prodigy. Newton with gravity, by essence, is Prodigy. Something that already exists. You have no ground rules on why, and you're able to push it past where it is. No one's ever used a domain for that short of a time. I'm able to do it. Not because I'm just so strong, but because I have such a deep understanding of it, and I can do it intuitively. That's
Out of
Prodigy.
nowhere, and it works completely to his advantage. Oh yeah, I forgot about Mahito. Mahito's another Prodigy, but we're not gonna get into him.
No, he is. He's a freak of evolution.
He changes his domain barrier multiple times again, and the biggest thing to know is that Gojo is doing this all by himself.
On the fly.
He does not have a model. These are things that he's creating.
Yeah,
on the spot.
see,
he's doing first
creation
try.
is what.
The reason I wanted to emphasize that is the fact that Gojo was actually kind of struggling to improve his technique. But again, you have to realize that Gojo is trying to do these things by himself off of his own imagination. But yeah, I don't want to ramble too much about Gojo. Let's move on to the next character, Higuruma. I feel like this is who people think Yuji is. It's kind of funny. What makes it even more comical is the fact that Yuji and Higuruma have the exact same statement but two different contexts. When we first see Higuruma fight against Yuji, he gets absolute glaze from the narrator telling us that he has a talent for being a sorcerer. The narrator goes on to mention that in the 12 days from awakening his curse technique, he grew to a
12 days. In 12 days, you become a grade 1. In months, Yuji became a special grade. That alone isolates this as a Prodigy, and Yuji just doesn't make the cut. Because there's someone that can do what you can do so much better. What? Before entering the colony, he defeated many cursed spirits and at least 20 sorcerers. One man versus
no
army.
different from a grade 1 sorcerer.
Things that Yuji doesn't understand. He learned the basics of barrier techniques after analyzing cursed energy or cursed technique. Then he worked backwards. From barrier, he acquired instinctive grasp of reinforcement derived from cursed energy control. He understood something that was more complex and then worked backwards.
And the reason for this is because
Prodigy.
Higuruma managed to reverse engineer his own domain to figure out a whole bunch of things with Jujutsu sorcery. Literally no one taught him anything, and he grew to a grade 1 level sorcerer.
That's Prodigy.
That is the mark of a true Prodigy.
Yeah.
But here's Yuji's statement. In chapter 258, Kusakabe addresses Yuji. He says that the speed of Yuji's growth as a sorcerer has been tremendous, and he asks him, why do you think that is? Yuji goes on to feel himself saying that it's his innate talent.
Insane.
And then Kusakabe says it was Sukuna. We'll get into that statement later in the video. I mean, this statement just completely debunks the fact
Anti-feat of doom.
But I'll give you guys the time of day. I won't just end the video right here. We have more to talk about.
Tight shit.
So now that we've gone over Higuruma's statement that he's a prodigy, just like we did with Gojo, we can get into the feats. During Gojo's fight with Sukuna, Sukuna uses domain amplification. This is an ability that we found out back in Shibuya when Jogo and Hanami use it on Gojo to take down his infinity. Kusakabe explains what it is, and then someone asks Kusakabe, can he do it? And he says, of course I can't. But Higuruma's the one who says, I get the gist of thinking. Well, skip about maybe 20 chapters, and then Higuruma just uses it. And he not only just uses it, he actually uses it on the level of Sukuna himself. This is what got Sukuna so enthralled in him. I mean, that's literally the word they said.
Top tier.
And I might as well just read out exactly what they said. Higuruma had only awakened as a sorcerer a mere 2 months ago, yet was developing at a tremendous speed. Sukuna found himself completely enthralled. From the dazzling light of his lethal blade that once again shone, to the unbounded raw talent that rivals even Gojo's Satoru. This wasn't even intentional.
Compared him to Gojo.
Higuruma has connections to Gojo, and we just went over how crazy Gojo is. And it doesn't even stop there, because Higuruma actually performs a feat even better than Gojo. While Higuruma got a brief explanation of what domain amplification was, and so he used it, which is still impressive.
Similar to Gojo, brief explanation of something, and then it's able to like use it. But in this case, it's like imagine Toto was like using some erasing attack, and Gojo out RCT'd the erasing attack, and Toto's been using that attack. Toji has been using that attack forever. All right, that's what it is with Sukuna. He's been doing it for years, and someone is able to mimic his status, the proficiency he has of something, and they learned it from. Oh, I think I get the gist. That's Prodigy.
He then goes on to use reverse curse technique with zero help. All Higuruma did was see it. He saw reverse curse technique and just used it. And what's even crazier, he uses it first try, and he was a limb. Gojo could even do that, and he had the 6 eyes. So yeah, that's how crazy Higuruma is. So moving on, we can get into Sukuna. Now, Sukuna's a very odd case because we don't know about Sukuna when he was a kid or something. And to be honest, I feel like you can argue that some of the things that he does right now is due to his experience. But I just wanted to add him because he had a kind of similar statement to Gojo during their fight. Of course, we found out how Gojo reset his curse technique by using reverse curse technique, and after a couple tries, Gojo finally did enough damage to Sukuna to take down his domain. But after this, in between the domain clashes, Angel says something of note. Gojo Satoru made the mistake of showing that to Sukuna. With Kenjaku's help, Sukuna was able to split his spirit into 20 curse objects, the fingers. After seeing it just once, he learned how to turn himself into a curse object.
Brother, what?
Finishes Angel's point. Now that he's seen it, I'm sure Sukuna can also restore his burnt out curse technique.
Yeah,
just
GG's,
seeing Gojo do it
bro.
once, Sukuna dissected the entire process and was able to use it for himself. And he tells us this directly. He explains it in depth for the people who are watching. Now again, this is why I wanted to say that this is a weird case.
What?
He explains it
Roughly around your right prefrontal cortex. Yeah, GG's, bro.
in depth for the people who are watching. Now again, this is why I wanted to say that this is a weird case because we can just say that Sukuna knows a lot about Jujutsu, so that's how he was able to do it. So if you don't want to use Sukuna as an example, so be it. I won't go over it
that's
anymore.
fine.
So let's go on to the last example, Yuta. While Higuruma is like probably the main example of a Jujutsu prodigy, Yuta is my favorite
Up
example.
there, though. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he's TCB's favorite example as well because in their translation, they just call him a prodigy whenever they want to.
Spam
so this
master.
page basically gives us the statement that we needed for the criteria that Gojo, Higuruma, and Sukuna had. And if that doesn't work, we can go into what I was talking about earlier with Gojo not being able to teach things.
Yeah.
When Choso asked for advice with reverse curse technique to Hikari, Yuta, and Shoko, Yuta replies saying that he just goes off instinct.
I'm on total autopilot. Yeah, I go off instinct too.
Hikari basically says the same thing, but his doesn't count because Hikari is literally on autopilot. Yuta, however, he just does it. In JJK0, Yuta uses reverse curse technique and output out of nowhere. He does it so efficiently that he heals Maki's twisted up
On
leg,
someone else,
and it was
by
an
the
ability that Geto didn't even have. He does it
Mind
so
you,
efficiently. He just does it.
How is it that you compensate for your lost blood when you regenerate? I don't know. I'm on autopilot. Now they go here. There are tons of people who can use RCT but can't heal others. This is a double feat from Yuta because he was just able to heal someone else with RCT. So RCT is already way less than niggas that can use domains, which is like, off the top of my head, I'm going to say like 24 to 36 people in JJK who can use domains. RCT is less than that. So within this ton of people, which is way less than 24, right? They can use it, but they can't heal others. We only know of, I'm not too caught up. I'm going to say less than 5. Less people than you can count on your hand can heal others with it. And there's a difference in the use of it that you have to understand to treat someone else. Without this understanding, Yuta healed someone else.
Reverse curse technique and output out of nowhere.
Come on.
He does it so efficiently that he heals Maki's twisted up leg, and it was an ability that Geto didn't even have. Fun fact, Yuta is the first person in the entire series to use reverse curse technique and output, and only 2 people preceded him. But it doesn't end there. Yuta's also tasked with the mission of learning how to use a katana and channel Rika's curse through it. And we see him try for the first time, and boom, he does it.
Done.
But what really shows that Yuta is a prodigy is his curse technique. Yuta's curse technique is copy, so he has to use other people's techniques to make himself stronger.
Exactly.
Now, for anyone else except for Yuta or a prodigy, this might be crazy. But we see Yuta do it time and time again, where he takes someone's technique and uses it as good or even better than the original user. Sometime in JJK0, Yuta copies Inumaki's curse technique, and he uses it instantly. He steals Drew's curse technique after he kills him, uses it against Uro perfectly the first time he even tries it. And in my favorite one, he steals Uro's curse technique, takes Sky Manipulation, and uses as extension automatically.
What, bro?
And mind you, Yuta got no explanation for it. He saw Sky Manipulation, he saw Thin Icebreaker, he dissected it and uses it flawlessly. Yuta sees you use your curse technique, he takes it.
Because it's one thing to have someone like explain to you the ins and outs, even if in like a lousy way, but it's another thing to just be able to see it and replicate it. It shows an innate understanding of what you're doing
from you and uses it as good. That's the mark of a prodigy. And so with all of that said, with these 4 characters I went over, what exactly is a prodigy? The Oxford definition for a prodigy is a person with exceptional qualities or abilities, a talented child. It's someone who has an insane talent for Jujutsu. A talented Jujutsu sorcerer and a prodigy are 1 in 1. Why is Yuta a prodigy? We see him do things first try. Why is Gojo a prodigy? We see him do things first try. Why is Higuruma a prodigy? We see him do things first try. And might I add, things first try without any help. Now, this doesn't mean that they can do anything first try, but there are multiple feats that support the fact that they're a prodigy because of the other things that they do first try. Right. So with that being said, is Yuji a prodigy? Yuji starts off the series with physical so high, Megami sees him and wonders if he's heavily restricted like Maki is. This one thing carries him for the first I'd say maybe 40 or 50 chapters of the series. He learns about curse energy and he goes to give it a try, and of course he fails, but I won't hold that against him because this is a new concept to him and he actually learns it pretty quickly. And so now we can actually address Yuji's, in quotations, progression as a sorcerer. Yuji is taught many things. He gets Divergent Fist just because he's so strong, so that's nothing from being a prodigy. He fights Mahito and he's actually able to damage his soul, but that's because he has Sukuna inside him, so that wasn't from him being a prodigy. We enter Goodwill and Yuji gets taught more things by Todo, and here's where people always point to. When switching out with Megumi and Maki to fight Hanami, Yuji finally uses Black Flash. Now this is what people use to say that Yuji is a prodigy, and I won't lie. The fact that he could use Black Flash on basically his first try, it was his second, but I'd say it was his first try, that's impressive. But it's not like it was a skill that he can do on purpose.
On command,
he was super focused and he used it. That's it. Nothing about him using it and then going on to chain it means anything. What takes the credibility out of this feat for me is the fact that you cannot use Black Flash on purpose. You can try to use it and then you end up using it, but there is a whole bunch of luck that goes into it. Compare using something you got lucky with to using Reverse Curse Technique first try, or using Domain Amplification. It's literally not the same, and people are trying to...
literally something that requires skill versus something that is luck-based, but there's skill-based in it. Like, if there's a game where you have to beat a certain level, and there's an RNG on the enemy you fight, and there's an RNG that you get an enemy that is unbeatable, and there's an RNG that you get an enemy that is an instant win, you being able to get that instant win enemy is luck. And if you're able to do that multiple times, you have the skill to beat the level, but your RNG is high. You feel me? You can't put that into a category of like, oh yeah, he's a prodigy. He does that every time. No, the prodigy is, oh shoot, he beat this level in 2 seconds. Itadori's not beating the level in 2 seconds. He's learning like everyone else. He's failing. But when he does win, he gets the good RNG.
Disagree with that, make no sense. When Nanami describes chaining Black Flashes, he says that he was lucky. When Gojo describes using the Black Flash, he says that it's up to luck. Yuji has the best Black Flash mastery in the series. What that even means is up to you.
Nick said, even for me, Prodigy stated, even for me, it comes down to luck. Someone else doing it doesn't become like, oh, they're a Prodigy now. No, they have luck.
Because again, it's something he cannot do on purpose, but yeah, he is the master of it. And so this is why I said in my original post that this is basically the only thing that was kind of like being a prodigy. But when we continue, it really doesn't help his case. This is something I literally just found out because I was arguing with someone in the comments, and this is blowing my mind. Shibuya happens, and Yuji just gets his ass beat the entire time. But after Shibuya, Choso says that he is a demon god now, and we're trying to figure out why that is. Well, I just realized, no, it's not because Yuji did anything during Shibuya, it's because Sukuna took over his body. This is a concept that we found out about way later into the story, like during Shinjuku, but that's literally what happened. We're gonna go back into the statement that I brought up earlier, and we can finally read it out. After Kusakabe says that Yuji's progression as a sorcerer has been fast and it's because of Sukuna, he says, if you do certain movements over and over again, whether it be in sports or whatever, it'll become muscle memory. Sukuna operated his technique in your body, which means your body remembers using extreme special grade jujutsu. You can thank him for your exceptionally quick understanding.
Got it.
Hold up.
Unlike the other people, it's not exceptionally quick understanding and growth through conscious thought or even instinct. It's exceptionally quick understanding and growth purely through muscle memory, which is why he doesn't realize that it's happened.
This is actually blowing my mind. Dude, when Gojo said that Yuji was a quick learner because he learned curse energy, it's because he got it from Sukuna.
Used it
Why did I not realize this before? Okay, so now we can say that literally everything that Yuji does regarding curse energy is because of Sukuna. I wasn't even on that train before, but I literally just read this statement in its entirety, and it just opened my eyes even more. So Shibuya happens, and he got an extra boost just because Sukuna exists.
He was spamming his...
absolutely nothing during the Culling Games, and then we enter the time skip between the Culling Games and Shinjuku. Now this one confuses me. Not necessarily because of the contents, but rather how people can read this and tell me that Yuji is a prodigy at all. Let's list out all the new things that Yuji has when he enters Shinjuku. He has reverse curse technique, he has blood manipulation, he has better durability, he ends up using shrine, he can split Sukuna from Megumi's soul, and he uses domain expansion. Now this is crazy. If Yuji actually learned all of this by himself or with maybe a teacher, this would be crazy.
It would be insane feats.
He would definitely be a prodigy, but it goes back to the Battle of Gods thing again. There is context. Yuji gets reverse curse technique because he does switch training with Yuta, and Yuta just makes his body
use the reverse curse technique. Yeah.
So that's the first thing about reverse curse technique. Yuji did not learn it, so that's nothing to help with him being a prodigy.
It was implied. He learned it through imprintation.
Yuji can't even use reverse curse technique correctly because the guy literally needed help from Choso to use reverse curse technique correctly. So Mr. Prodigy Yuji gets given reverse curse technique and cannot use it as well as other people. But let's chill out, okay? Reverse curse technique isn't easy. Gojo couldn't do it, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Even though, if Yuta was given reverse curse technique and he saw other people using it, he would have been able to use it as efficient as we saw him do multiple times. We're going to ignore all of that. We go on to blood manipulation. Now, we see that Yuji has two different mentors for blood manipulation. He has Choso and Noritoshi. Choso
Yeah.
is terrible when it comes to teaching, which again goes back to the Gojo thing I was talking about earlier. He can't really
Genius.
explain to Yuji how convergence works.
Or he does it
But
innately.
he has Noritoshi who completely explains it perfectly. It was so perfect, in fact, that Yuji could make an analogy on it. So with Yuji being this insane prodigy that everybody tells me he is, I'd expect him to really master blood manipulation in the month that he has it and the 2 teachers he has. I mean, you would agree, right? He is a prodigy, so
Yeah.
after a month and 2 teachers, he should be able to get it
In
down.
theory, he would be able
Wrong,
to.
like completely wrong. After a month with blood manipulation and being a prodigy and having 2 mentors, Yuji cannot use convergence effectively. I have to say this again for maybe like the 6th or 7th time this Yuta took Curse Speech and used it perfectly the first time he tried it. Yuta took Juru's Shikigami and used it perfectly the first time. Yuta took Uro's Sky Manipulation, used it perfectly the first time, and used its extension perfectly the first time. But Mr. Prodigy Yuji cannot use convergence effectively with 2 different teachers and a month of training. This is the Jujutsu Prodigy, everyone. But alright. Let's just say maybe blood manipulation and RCT are just too much for Yuji. Even though, again, we got Higuruma doing RCT and domain applications seconds in between each other, and yeah, more stuff, but forget that. Let's move on to the next thing. Yuji has better durability after the time skip. This is crazy, right? He got it from Kusakabe.
Yeah.
Yuji literally did nothing for this power-up. Kusakabe went into his body, gave him the fundamentals of curse energy,
GG's.
and that was it. So let's take that off the list. Yuji can split Sukuna
like
from Megumi Soul.
inheritance,
This is
man.
the one, right? Except it's literally an ability he has just because Sukuna was in his body. Sukuna deliberately states that it's the same logic as with Mahito. He just has that ability. Now, what I
Yeah.
will say, I don't think every incarnated sorcerer is able to split the body, but he was given a manual to do it, so that's off the list as well. I saw Cope about how he got Shrine and Domain Expansion, but this is just like, it's blowing my mind again. First off,
Yeah, it
Mr.
was in
Prodigy
his body
Yuji, who's the
using
master of
it.
Black Flashes, finally uses a Black Flash after like 20 chapters, and suddenly he unlocks a technique that he was just given. So I don't
120%.
really know why that proves he's a prodigy. Like, there wasn't anything there.
Yeah.
And then the domain expansion cope is the one that blows my mind the most. Because on the page of Yuji using his domain expansion, it tells you
Switch
that he got
training.
the ability to do it from Kusakabe. Yuji literally does not have the ability to do it without Kusakabe. He got it from him. This isn't a testament to his own talent. The narrator, oh my god, like, how can people use this and compare it to something like Higuruma using RCT without any explanation, using domain amplification, Yuta using RCT, or other people's curse techniques perfectly the first time, or Gojo using RCT to reset his curse technique and changing the conditions of his domain? How is this even remotely the same? So to put everything I just said into compact form,
Yeah, it
Yuji
wouldn't be
has
the
insane
same
physicals and
tier.
was fighting against grade 1 sorcerers just because
Now you can say he's not a regular, but the most you could give him is like, oh yeah, he's he's a cut above the rest. He's not a prodigy though, but he's a cut above the rest. You know, he's a top tier. That's where it kind of stops.
he was born strong. Nothing to do with being a prodigy. He learned curse energy pretty quickly because of Sukuna, so nothing to do with being a prodigy. He uses Black Flash for the first time, and I will say this is his only impressive feat, but at the same time, Black Flash is a whole bunch of luck. He can't do it on purpose. It's not on the same level as using reverse curse technique on purpose the first time he tries it, or domain amplification, or other people's curse techniques. So I will say that's a half point. Yuji goes on to massively improve during Shibuya because Sukuna took over his body, so nothing to do with him being a prodigy. Yuji during Shinjuku gets better durability from Kusakabe, gets Shrine because of Sukuna, gets Domain Expansion because of Kusakabe, gets RCT from Yuta, and
Hold on, YouTube. I gotta go pee. Kobe. Sorry.
cannot use it correctly, gets blood manipulation, trains with 2 mentors for a month straight, and cannot use it effectively, and is able to split Sukuna from Megami's soul because Sukuna was in him. So, this is the Jujutsu Prodigy. The one with multiple statements that he
Everything
has
is
no
like a
innate talent.
hand-me-down.
The one with basically 0 feats of doing anything first try or doing something super quick off of his own efforts. The one who was given a technique, 2 mentors, and a month of training and still couldn't use the foundation of it effectively, and collapsed mid-battle because he couldn't use reverse curse technique effectively. And must I add, his brother needed to explain it again for him. But this is the Prodigy. Yeah, if you watch till here, you should probably agree with me. Yuji is not a Jujutsu Prodigy, but that's okay. Not everyone needs to be. Like I said, there's like 3 or 4. Yuta, Gojo, Higuruma, and maybe Sukuna. That's it. Hakari isn't one, Maki isn't one, Toji isn't one. They don't need to be. It doesn't matter. And so now I think we're like, I feel like I'm at like 26 minutes of just straight yap. So now we're gonna get into some comments just to, laugh at them. The guy's a prodigy. It's madness to deny that.
Okay. He's explained his point. No need to see those comments. We give bro a subscribe. That was a tough love hit. You know what I'm saying? As always, I appreciate y'all boys for sticking around to the end. Shout out to all my citizens and all the people that's been watching me on YouTube, man. Love to see the growth. As always, check the Discord, link down in the description. And as always, man, I'll see you boys next time. Peace.